Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Rat Dungeon. Yeah, the prisoner would be chained to a wall. Where he was at the entrance of the dungeon. Okay, there would be tide. If it rises high enough, the rats would come and eat him. Okay, the prisoner would fight back, but eventually he would get exhausted. And he would discover hundreds of bite marks. Okay. And they are left for days or weeks depending on the crime. Okay, and then they were let go. Okay, back then they were intended. Now, but then the Rat Dungeon became a death sentence. Yeah, yikes. Number 9. The rack. Yeah, the rack. Did you know that the rack was used for torture back then? Yeah. It was originally intended as a punishment. Okay, the prisoner would be tied to a rolling, and they would stretch their arms and legs. Two executioners. Would torture them until they said fest for hours and hours and hours. And yeah, some people have died from this. They were lucky. Okay? There was a woman who performed a religion other than the Catholic Church. And she told people, and you shouldn't tell anyone, not even your husband. And her husband turned her in and executed by the rack. After that, okay, yeah, the rack, people who were executed by it, the prisoner would usually be left completely paralyzed. And that's what happened to her. And then she was burned alive by the stake. Okay. Number 8. Keel hauling. And no, pirates did not use this punishment. Okay, and from here on out, the punishments are going to be intended to kill the prisoner. Okay? Not. Okay, the prisoner would be tied up. And they would go all the way around the circumference of the ship. Okay, most of them drown. Okay, and I put the scale pretty high because of because of wood fragments, and barnacles would scrape the prisoner up. And they survived. They'd either be ready for round two, be allowed back on the ship, and succumb to the wounds, or just be single for the rest of their life. And be made fun of about their injuries. Number 7. Execution by elephants. Okay, from here on out, living is not an option anymore. And there were 2 methods. They either had their head crushed, okay, just their head, or they would go around, okay, they would crush. Okay, there was a trainer who told the elephant what to do, who would break their limbs, and better hope that they hit the head. There are times when they constantly break limbs. They would put tusks to puncture victim and then finish and blow head. Okay, and it would be on public. Okay. The prison. Back to this is number 6. Night. 6. Impalement. Yes, you heard that right. Okay, first, the executioners would use a razor to make the prisoner's back door wider. They would put certain substances to stop the bleeding, and then they would impale. Okay, and they would do it until it punctured through their front door, shoulders, etc. But there's another version. Instead of the prisoner going all the way down, they have a seat for the prisoner. Yeah, the people who've done this type of impalement they're lucky. Yeah. Help me. Number 5. Ooh, jeez. Oh my goodness, no. 5. The leather sack. Okay, we've reached the top 5. Okay, and trust me, these are gonna be nightmare fuel. Okay, and this one, the prisoner is put into a sack. Okay, and it's airtight. Okay, and he doesn't die alone. Okay, there's a snake. Snake. A rooster. Stir. A dog. And a monkey. Okay. And if you think, okay, if you think that's bad enough, well, let me. Okay, come on. Come on. Let's get back into the video. And if that's not bad enough, they would. Yeah, those animals don't sound that bad. They would throw it into the ocean. Yeah. They would throw the okay, and the animals would attack the prisoner. Which is why I managed to get so high. Onto the list. Okay. Okay, that would be a nightmare. Do not. Okay. Okay, living's not an option. Okay, and the prisoner dies. Cut the sack. The other animals would die shortly after due to starvation. Number 4. The rat bowl and the rat tube. I'm putting these two punishments together because they are similar. Okay. Okay, first. Okay, the rat bowl. The executioner. The executioner would either use a torch or some coals to heat up the bowl. Okay, with the rat done, there's no choice but to burrow through the prisoner. Okay, and they have to chew through until they will do this until they find a way out. Okay? But the rat tube is worse. Okay? It's where the executioner gets a tube and puts a rat. Okay, and the tube leads to the prisoner's back door. Okay. I consider this worse because it would be a longer way. Okay. Okay, you are so lucky you don't live in this time period. Okay, this is back in the 1900s. Okay. Okay, you would burrow through the prisoner, and the prisoner would, of course, die because living's not an option. Number 3. The bronze medal of bad goes to gibbeting. Okay, which is back then the prisoner would be hung up inside a cage. Okay, and it was so small the prisoner wouldn't be able to move. Okay? Yeah. No. And it was typically placed at around 30 feet. Okay, so yeah, even if for some reason they managed to break the bars, they would fall. So bad that okay, and when they died, their bodies would be left in those cages. Okay, for impalement, they usually get rid of the body. And they would produce a bad smell after they died. It was so bad that the visitors, the citizens would consider them, would stay awake. Okay, and the prisoner's body would be left there. Okay, people did not clean them. Okay, and now we're number 2. And the silver medal of bad goes to. Okay, before I tell that, okay, these are gonna be hellish nightmares, and if you don't want to see this, I'd suggest clicking on this video. Okay, number 2 is scaphism. A lot of people would put this as number 1. Okay, the prisoner would be tied to a boat. Okay. Okay, 2 boats placed on top of each other. Okay, with holes cut for the head, hands, and feet. Okay, and they were the executioners would feed the victim, the prisoner milk and honey. Okay? And they do this on a daily basis. And no, this is not a great mix. Okay, this doesn't make a great last meal. Okay, they would feed them on a daily basis. Okay, they were doing this because it causes extreme diarrhea. Yeah. Okay, and they would. Okay, and they would have to. Okay, the sun would be the least of their worries. My God. Okay, because. Okay, rats. Okay, rats and insects would get attracted. Okay, bugs would get attracted to this. And okay, and they would eat the victim alive because the diarrhea attracts them. they would cover the victim with milk and honey. Okay? And someone lasted for 17 days on these boats, which is why you put it at number 2. And there were holes in his stomach. Okay? The only reason this is not in the top spot is because this next one is worse, in my opinion. Number 1, the gold medal goes to the oubliette dungeons. Okay, oubliette means to forget. Okay? Okay, some dungeons, they were in uncomfortable positions. They couldn't sit, stand, or lay down. Okay, they would put them in the dungeon and forget them. Okay. Okay, and you might think forcing them to if you think forcing them to uncomfortable positions isn't bad enough, well, the previous victims would be in there. As a reminder, for the current victims' upcoming fate. Okay, if that's not enough to convince you, they can be stuck in here for years. Okay? They come in all different shapes and sizes. Okay, they've been there are people who've been lasting for years drinking water and eating crumbs. Okay? It's longer than the other punishments I've covered in this video. Okay? Which is why I considered it worse. And there was an oubliette dungeon that had dozens of skeletons, if not hundreds. Okay, meaning that they were hardly ever cleaned. And one had so much skeletons that people needed carts to clear the dungeon. Okay, and some of them were placed at ground level. Well, okay, which would remind people of the good things they never get to have for the rest of their life. Yeah. Yeah, pretty sad. It may not be the bloodiest, but this is the worst punishment in my opinion. Okay, you might be surprised why it's number one. Okay? No. Don't. And for love of God. Yeah, please. Stay. Okay. Stay in school. Okay, get good grades, and for the love of God, don't end up getting the death penalty. Okay? Don't end up like these people who experienced this.